49ers travel to Green Bay to play the Packers. The Packers are coming off of a crazy last-minute win against the Bears. They blocked a kick and ended up victorious against their divisional foe. That puts them at like 8 straight wins against the Bears. So big time for them. On the contrary, 49ers are coming off of a tough loss to the Seahawks. That's a big game that they dropped because they dropped in the division. And so now here they're sitting at 500, staring the playoffs in the face, wondering if they'll even get in. The 49ers with a loss here, they drop to a 30% chance to make the playoffs if they lose this game. If they win, that elevates them a little bit north of 50% chance to make the playoffs. So this game is a huge swing for their chance to make the playoffs. So let's talk about how we think this game's going to go. Beej, we're both on the Packers in this one to win. Vegas has Packers 2.5 at home as a home favorite. The model has this as a pick even. So right around 22 for both teams. This is going to be a fun game. We know the history between these two franchises, two of the most storied franchises in the league. So this is essentially a do or die game for the 49ers because if they don't win, they're pretty much putting their playoff fate in the hands of other teams. So in a must-win game for the 49ers, they go and face this Packers team who, hasn't really put it all together yet, but is still a strong team nonetheless. So, BJ, are you worried about the 49ers traveling to Lambeau, hitting the road in one of the toughest places to play this week? Or, you have the Packers. So tell me why you have the Packers. What are you thinking about here?
Yeah, I am worried about the 49ers. I thought the last week that they would, getting McCaffrey back, they would kind of bounce back and capitalize on a lot of their opportunities. And really just didn't. 17 points against the Seahawks defense that is not great.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. So, I still do think that they will, like you mentioned it before we got on, they're, great between the 20s. And then after that, they're just kind of dust. So
yeah,
I think it'll get better, but I do think that the Packers are one of the best teams in the NFL. They're at Lambeau. The Packers had their bye, 2 weeks ago. So they're a little more rested. And I just think that they're a more complete team at this point in the season. And I think they can win in a lot of different ways. And I think they'll continue their win streak.
Yeah. And one thing is that concerns me, and one thing that I wanted to make sure that we flag before we get into the details of how this game's going to go. For one, Brock Purdy is nursing an injury. He's day-to-day. We do expect him to play, but it's not great that he popped up on the injury report after that game nonetheless. So that's an injury concern, number one. Number two, Nick Bosa re-aggravated his hip in that game last week against the Seahawks. So they could potentially be down their top pass rusher in Lambeau, and that's not good. That's not ideal for a Green Bay offense who's really good at limiting the pressures. They're in fact third overall in the league at only allowing 5.2 pressures to Jordan Love right now. So sneaky good offensive line, especially going up against a 49ers defensive line that has really failed expectations to date and now going to be down their best pass rushers. So that's one of the things that we're looking at here that concerns us. So we talked about some of those things. Let's make a bull case for the 49ers though, Beach. One thing I will say is they will get George Kittle back, barring any setbacks from him. So they get arguably the way that this season has gone. I want to ask you this too. George Kittle has been the most important component of this offense this year. Historically, we've seen it be Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey last year, and Brandon Ayuk even, kind of came onto the scene. But this year, this offense has seemed to operate through George Kittle. So with his presence back, what do you expect with that? Do you think that elevates this offense enough to go into Lambeau and potentially drive we call it an upset. They are an underdog here, but it's they're a small dog. So technically it's an upset, but they're fighting an uphill battle. Do you think George Kittle coming back gives them it does give them a better chance, but how important is George Kittle in this game?
Yeah, I think one thing the 49ers have lacked this season, especially the last couple of weeks, are, big playability. And that George Kittle can carry 4 defenders on his back for 30 yards. So this goes back to 49ers capitalizing on opportunities. Like they will I assume they will get those big plays eventually. It just seems like there has been none of them all year. And so I
Mm-mm.
think that having George Kittle out there, the team loves him. He's a freak of nature. So I think that he will get the boys used up for that, and really, hopefully, that will
Yeah,
pump him up a little bit during the game.
he
So
does so much
it's crazy.
in both the passing game and the
Blocking.
running game. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what, you can make the argument that George Kittle is the best player in football because of
Mm-hmm.
how good he does the sport. Today you see these tight ends, even receivers, like you have some receivers who are superstars that are just there to catch the football and make big plays. You have receivers, guys like Mac Hollins, who are literally on the team to make those blocks. They're a crucial component of the running game. Same with tight ends. You have your blocking tight ends, you have your passing tight ends. George Kittle is the best at both right now, especially this year. And so having him back elevates this offense significantly, in my opinion. Vegas wouldn't tell you that. They would say he's worth minimal points, if not any. But I think having him back and being able to funnel this offense through him and operate in the middle of the field, especially on the road in a tough environment, will be so big. Christian McCaffrey's kind of getting back into his groove. I think he's shaking off some rust. They got to get Deebo Samuel going on the ground and in the air. It's crazy that they haven't done anything with Deebo right now. And the
Mm-hmm.
numbers from a metric standpoint aren't bad for this offense. They just can't capitalize. San Francisco right now, they are 6th overall in EPA per play, 8th overall in success rate. They just haven't generated points. And then on top of that, whenever they get into the red zone or in the other side of the field, Jake Moody is missing these field goals. So it's just a matter of time before the 49ers can put it together. It's just an unfortunate circumstance that it is on the road in Lambeau right now against a Green Bay defense who's actually pretty good. They're 6th overall in EPA per play allowed. They do have a bad success rate given up. They're 26th overall in success rate allowed on the defensive side of the ball. So you can pass against this team. It's really hard to run. But again, that's the key. Having George Kittle back, getting Ricky Pearsall involved, and of course, seemingly their number one wide receiver now, Jawan Jennings, has come onto the scene, our dog. And so they're going to have to capitalize on the explosive plays that they make. They'll generate those big plays, but then they'll fizzle out before they can make anything happen and get points. And so they're going to have to do that because Jordan Love, on the other side of the football, he's operating a really efficient offense right now. They're 10th overall in EPA per play. They're averaging 27 points a game, and that number is higher at home. So Josh Jacobs is finally in a groove. He's 3rd in the league in rushing yards per attempt, averaging 5.2 rushing yards per attempt speed. Stopping this offense is going to be key. And that's the thing about the 49ers this year is their defense isn't as good as what it has been. So as high as I can be on the 49ers offense, and that is my bull case for them winning this game. But the reason I'm not picking them to win this game, and I'm not confident in it, but the reason I'm not taking them here is because their defense hasn't proven that they're willing to stop the good teams. You read me the schedule that they played against too, and it's not great. And so with that, do you think they have it in the bag to make a stop against this Jordan Love team, or is that what you're concerned too?
They're going to have to get pressure. I think that was a huge stat that I didn't know of until you just said it. Only allowing 5 pressures a game toward Jordan Love is insane because if you give him time, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, they will get open. They're going to get open. So you have to be able to pressure the quarterback. And like you were saying, the Packers being a sneaky, good offensive line, and Nick Bosa, nursing an injury. If they can't get pressure, then the Packers could slam here.
Yeah, and it's just at the end of the day, it's crazy because I would give both coaching staffs, Matt LaFleur and Kyle Shanahan will just base this off them. I would put them in the same field together. So they're matched up well. And the coaching department, especially from an offensive play calling perspective, if you look at the talent makeup of the 49ers compared to the Packers, it's, the 49ers kind of take the cake pretty easily, especially if everybody's healthy. And so the talent is there. The ability is there for the 49ers. But right now, the Packers are just operating so much more efficiently on both sides of the ball in reality that it's hard for me to be confident in the 49ers team to go in here. But it is a do-or-die game. It is a huge swing game for them in terms of playoffs. So we could see extra motivation. We could see this offense. They have some new pieces, like Juwan Jennings operating as the X receiver, Ricky Pearsall into the mix, Christian McCaffrey coming back. This is going to be his third game healthy this year, and George Kittle coming back. We haven't seen the same assortment of offensive playmakers on the field all year. We saw a combination of Debo, Kittle, and Mason, and then and Ayuk, and then Debo got hurt, and then we saw Ayuk operate as the main guy, and Kittle and Mason, and then we saw Ayuk get hurt, and then Debo came back, but then Kittle got hurt. And then, and like Ricky Pearsall is now into the mix. He got shot in this offseason. So it's been this conglomeration of offenses that really haven't played together. So this will be the third game, outside of George Kittle, where these guys are operating together on the same, in the same offense. So maybe we see this cohesion finally come together and this chemistry click where they're capitalizing and scoring points. So that's going to be a fun game. Huge game for the 49ers playoff hopes. For the Packers, it's just another Sunday right now, but it is going to be big nonetheless. We know the history between these two teams. It's going to be a fun one. I'm taking the Packers. BJ's taking the Packers. Let's get it, baby.